People are sad about what's happening in the Ukraine. Just as we're starting to feel like we can take a breath, all of a sudden, whoosh, here comes this massive conflict. And what I'm hearing from people is a fatigue, like they're so tired. They're exhausted from what's happening in the world. They're feeling such sadness. They're imagining what people in the Ukraine are experiencing, or they know people here in the US who are Ukrainian or Russian, and they're struggling to make sense of it. So that's probably the biggest thing that I've been noticing. And so, they're coming, talking about what can they do. They're feeling such a sense of powerlessness, hopelessness for the world, for things ever being calm, for things being normal. And the thing that we keep coming back to, and some folks think I'm kind of a broken record here, is we need to keep coming back to the moment that is just in front of us. What is happening now? And what's happening next? And what's happening next? And what's happening next? And for people who survived in some of the worst circumstances, people who were prisoners of war, for example, people who have been in horribly abusive households, how did they survive? Sometimes it was through fantasy, and sometimes it was by just getting into the moment. What's going on now? What am I doing in my life presently? Because once we can do that, we see that we're not really as hopeless or as helpless or as powerless as we feel we are. We can't stop the war in Ukraine, but I can make some food for my family. I'm not powerless there. I can make sure that everything happens in my life or in my home. And it's not just about me, like, oh, well, I'm just going to worry about myself. It's really about how do I get back into a place where I can make something happen so that I don't get caught up in that sense of powerlessness. So it is focusing on this moment and then the next moment and the moment after. And I'm checking in on people who I know are probably struggling. It's getting involved, right? When we get stuck in feeling powerless and helpless and there's nothing I can do, that's when people get more anxious. That's when they feel more depressed. That's when they feel more hopeless, helpless, powerless. So figuring out, what do you have time for? And everybody's busy, but what do you have time for? What can you donate a little bit of time for so that you can get up and out of that feeling? Is it something in your community? Is it sending money to a relief organization that you trust and you think is going to use the money well? Those are some things that we can do. So next thing that needs to happen in your life, and the next thing you have time for. Maybe it's a few hours a week. Maybe it's 1 hour a week. Maybe it's an hour in the month. Whatever you have is all you have. And if you can check in with yourself and say, does this feel like it's satisfying what I need? It's a great way to go. No expectations. If you're not sure what to do, you can look online. You can find what's happening in your community. So our main office is in Park Ridge. I could say, in Park Ridge, Ukrainian relief, and see what pops up. I would want to know what's happening in my community because chances are that's where I'll have the greatest impact.